All right, we're live.
Okay.
Welcome back to Forever Conscious Research Channel. Hope you all find yourself doing well this evening, morning, afternoon, or when you're watching, or whenever you're watching. It's good to be back, and we are going to be joining Dan again today from the OverWatch channel and OverWatchProject.com. Please make sure you check out his website, his YouTube, ODYSEE, and there are a bunch of various links available inside the description tab for you to check out and go find his great work. And this will be interview number 3 with Dan. Tonight we're going to dive into Loosh and then also the obstacles and mental sabotage we all endure on our path to seeking truth. And I'm really looking forward to this one. So without further ado, I would like to welcome Dan back to the show. Thanks for joining us, brother. How you doing tonight?
Hey, Mark. Yeah, thanks for having me back. It's great to be here. How's everybody doing out there tonight? I have my chat thing set up here in front of me, and I put it to live chat. So that's how you see the most current. So I'll try to keep an eye on it as we go.
Sure.
So yeah, I want to. So somebody in the last interview, I don't know if it was the last interview with us or it was in one of the other interviews. I want whoever it is to get credit for this idea because I should have thought of it, and you should have thought. We both should have thought of this. To use our, consciousness, our intentions that can affect reality to poison the loosh, so to speak.
That was an incredible comment.
Who you remember where that
I'll
came
look it
from?
up while you're shooting the breeze there. Yeah.
Okay, so so this is kind of like the highlight of tonight's talk, but we're gonna start with it. So so somebody made that comment. So if you kind of like, let's see how I can put this. We are an unknowable quantity of consciousness, an individualized being of consciousness, and we are we're literally kind of being filtered through our human avatars or our human characters that we've incarnated into. And our brain, which we'll get into later, is the whole thing. The whole thing, we're limited in our perception and limited in how we can think and process information, how we communicate. All this is sabotaging and limiting our consciousness to an incredible, tiny fraction of what it must be, right? And we know that even in that state, you have things like quantum physics experiments that show that us merely observing something can alter it. You have the fact that our intentions can change random number generators. And of course, you have magic, witchcraft, which I think is the exact same thing as prayer. And whether it's done by an individual or a group, our intention or consciousness can affect something to change to a degree. And even though we're really kind of like handicapped and restrained because our consciousness is being, as Rupert Sheldrake would say, put through this reducing valve that we call a brain. So basically, I don't know who it was, but somebody made a comment.
I'm sorry, Dan. Do you mind holding on a minute? The stream is echoing. I don't have any other windows up. Just 1 minute, Dan. Let me just double check on my end.
Okay. So basically, I don't know who it was. Welcome, Dan.
Okay, it sounds fine. I'm sorry. Continue.
Yeah. So whoever it was made a comment about, why don't we use our intention to basically send sour or bad loosh?
Yeah, I just texted it to you, actually. It was by Bila Raymond. longtime subscriber. Shout out to Bila. She says,
Yeah.
can we not set an intention that the loosh we give off is poisonous to the entities? It's just like, wow, hell of a thought. And then Bruce had followed up by saying poisonous might work against your good nature. Just to make sure that inner resistance is out of the way, I would suggest and will try myself to think of something more positive, for lack of a better word. For example, make the loosh a contract to all who use it, that a better word for use it for that, a better word. For example, make the loosh a contract to all. I'm sorry, it's overlapping. For example, make the loosh a contract to all who use it, that they serve my every intention and guide me through and past this prison. Or may the loosh compel the user to sprinkle abundance on all who I know, or make it reveal itself. Just off my head, I think I want to give it some good thought. And I just thought it was a hell of a conversation. That was, interesting.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Very interesting. So, first of all, what the hell is it? So, in Robert Monroe's book, you did this great video a couple of videos ago where you went through the audio book clips of the section with Loosh. Conveniently, his great Monroe Institute seems to want to put that whole chapter in a memory hole.
Yes, they do.
And never wants to bring it up. But to me, when I read it the first time, I was like blown away. Yeah. Now, he described it as many different things, like a thing of value, like gold, but also like a drug, right? Mm-hmm. You have basically Carlos Castaneda, his books, the quote that I have on the bottom of my homepage from one of his books that it talks about the predator that has basically turned us into, Earth is like a chicken coop, basically. The whole quote's at the bottom there. We have a predator that came from the depths of the cosmos, took over the rule of our lives. Human beings are its prisoners. The predator is our Lord and Master. It has rendered us docile, helpless, and goes on to describe how this is basically the same thing. He's a totally different description, but he's saying it's a parasite and it feeds on us. And then you have things like the original Sumerian text, that the ones that not the distorted version from Zecharia Sitchin, but the ones that you can look up on the database of the actual tablets themselves. And the basically how the reason humans are created to be like a slave species. So you have the whole theme that keeps repeating itself, right? And it's the one thing that nobody wants to, in great numbers, wants to look at. They all want to go either to one of these major religions or some smaller denomination of some kind of religion, or some kind of new agey positive, and everything's love and light spiritual belief, or materialism, the materialist atheist that doesn't believe in any spirituality. And then there's a few of us out here that have studied this in depth and realized that the only actual way to explain all the suffering, turmoil, and terrible, negative and evil stuff that goes on in the earth is if you look at it as some kind of a loosh farm. It's the only thing that makes any cohesive sense, where you don't have to like juggle or twist your brain in a pretzel to try to justify all this stuff.
I thought it was all love and light.
Yeah, it's all love and light. Yeah, that is the most insane. That is the most ridiculous, insane, delusional state that people could possibly have and still like observe the actual world. But that we the other part of our talk tonight is all the barriers, all the mental sabotage that you have to go through to even begin to understand, this stuff. So I guess we could say Loosh is something. You'd have to direct your intentions in kind of like a generalized way, because we're not really sure what it is, right? It's even in Robert Monroe's book, it's someone from somewhere. It's valuable to them and other beings that use it, but it was kind of like this sort of like vague understanding of what it is. What do you think it is, Mark?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's leveled and layered. It kind of talks about how it started with this base idea and they improved upon it, improved upon it, improved upon it. Something is watching in the background the entire time. And has Monroe says himself that some outside force pretty much has an interest in this, and that, there's some entity there kind of looking over everything and keeping an eye on things. And they finally get to the point where they perfect it, or at least get it to levels that they wouldn't even expect to, pretty much be possible, I guess, or better than they ever expected. And then kind of everything unravels, and then, we see what we have before us today on how it's clearly going on. I mean, it couldn't be more obvious. And there's so many different examples out there. I mean, even in the Matrix movie, they show us that this is going on. The fact that Monroe just centered on that one moment in the book and then kind of went into a couple-week depression or 2-week depression, and then just, it's like everything kind of fell by the wayside after that, and the Monroe Institute just will not acknowledge it, and it's nuts. It's totally bonkers.
Yeah. So when you go through that section of that's his second book, Far Journeys, that's where the Loosh account is. When you go through it section by section, you can see all life, basically all life on the earth. It's kind of explained there, right? So I mean, you even have the dinosaurs. So first you have these primitive, like simple. It's like, okay, these are predatory animals, and these ones eat vegetables only, and then you have this whole cycle of killing and consuming, and there's some kind of like a crude loosh, but it's not really good enough, so they wipe it all out. Yeah. That explains the dinosaurs going all extinct. They wipe it all out, and then they start over. But at some point, it's very interesting because you can get the same exact this curious thing, because humans, we're different. We're not like anything else on Earth. We have something added to the level of our consciousness as humans that other creatures on the planet simply don't have. Now, in the Loosh account, in order to get this really high grade Loosh, the someone from somewhere added a piece of himself. Remember that part?
Oh yeah. Yeah. Put a little exterior love into that.
Yeah. So I'm thinking it's like whatever. I'm not sure how to explain it, but the material plane where physical incarnated life exists. See, I'm kind of like, I don't, we can't know everything. We're very limited in our stuff, but I don't know if like consciousness is able to like just incarnate into anything physical for a temporary time. Like maybe it's done, maybe there's an actual legitimate purpose for something like that in a harmless way. Because it doesn't Monroe later in like his third book experience some reality where consciousness can simply come into a physical body, like a perfected physical body, experience the material plane, and then leave it at will?
Yep.
Okay. So in a normal, healthy reality, I would say that would make sense, right? So you have non-physical consciousness, and has some kind of symbiotic relationship with a physical plane where it can just at will, okay, I want to be physical. So you go into like a body that maybe never ages or anything, but it stays like suspended or like an empty, almost like, you know, when you get into your car, you get into your car and you experience your car. And then when you're done, when you get to where you're going, you get out of your car. You're still there. The car is still there. We understand that the human body is kind of like it's a machine that our consciousness is kind of injected in. But this reality that we have here is hostile. It's parasitic. It's not healthy for the beings that incarnate here. I think we get tricked into it, and then I think it actually becomes addictive to many, like a game, like yeah, right. So so you have maybe a legitimate model where there's physical and non-physical, and these two things have some kind of symbiotic relationship. And then we have our planet here, or our reality, our realm, whatever you would call it, that is not healthy. It's designed that way to produce something for parasites to enjoy or whatever.
And they even talk about trading it.
Yeah, trading
like,
it. It's valuable
in other realms. It's like a commodity.
Yeah,
whatever
maybe
that means.
Like, I don't know. Maybe it's a way to experience the rush of being. Because it's kind of described as a drug at one part of his story. So maybe it gives a spirited or non-physical being the rush of physicality without having to do it.
That's an interesting one. The other one that just kind of came to my mind when you said that was, you know how we hear that perhaps this would be crazy. If it's true, that some of these beings, lack spirit, lack soul, or are way limited than we are. And what if that is their way of experiencing, like the equivalent of what our true essence would be when we leave here, and like kind of residing through that. The other thing is kind of like collective power, like we have we're so ridiculously powerful, but at the same time, if, instead of just having one ridiculous super essence, you have a whole realm worth of it. I don't know,
there's all kinds of ways. So now intention affects, even though we're in such a handicapped state, our intention still seems to affect things. We are like, anyway, like if you have like a lion that's in a cage or some kind of really powerful being and it's kind of trapped in a cage, you still are in danger if you get too close to that cage or if it can get a hold of you. As somebody found out recently in, I think, Naples, Florida, when they stuck their hand in the tiger's cage. Did you hear about that one?
No, I haven't. Fill me in. I can imagine, but yeah.
there was a caretaker take care of a tiger at, I think, the zoo, and a maintenance worker decided to just go in and try to pet the tiger. The caretaker has a relationship with the tiger, and he was telling the other guy to get out. You're not allowed back here. But the tiger turned around and just like practically took his arm off. So that's what happens when you get too close to things that are too powerful. And, maybe in some way our consciousness is really, really powerful, but we're kind of like contained in this cage of the human body. But even with that, we are, so there's different things that we do that creates obvious supernatural events. So that's why people can continue to latch on to some religions that produce these things once in a while, the things that religions call miracles. But if you look at what's going on, the mechanism is the same as if like a traditional witchcraft, or a quantum physics experiment. This is all conscious intention where like we're pushing into the material plane here with our non-physical consciousness, and we're able to at times in one degree or another kind of hack the system. We're able to affect things. So this is why many religions don't want you looking into magic.
No, yeah, they don't want you to figure out your power. Yeah, yeah.
Right,
yeah.
they don't want you doing that, but especially traditional magic, because that is individualized. It has nothing to do with a collective or a group think or
solo,
a coven or a group mind. If somebody's a lone practitioner, this is why I did a lot of communication with that one traditional witch that I read her books, and I was on talked about her in many of my other older podcasts, because she was traditional, solitary, not connected to anything, and not evil. She wasn't out to hurt people. Her books were about defensive practices and healing and stuff like that. So that's the last thing they want you to do, is realize that you don't even need other beings to do this stuff. You can do it by yourself.
Yeah, 100%. And there's plenty of those types of people out there. Plenty.
They are.
And they're just shit on, like, oh, they must worship Satan or the devil, or, you know, it's immediately shut down. It's cast down upon, and like, it's just.
They don't understand. Ridiculous. They don't understand where these people are coming from, and they also don't understand the whole psyop with the Abrahamic triad religions there, which occupy over half the planet.
Well said. Well said.
Over half of the planet's population has one of these, and there's a bajillion denominations of them with all these variations, and they'll all argue amongst each other about, things like pre-tribulation, post-tribulation, rapture, this, that, and the other thing. They argue about all these little semantics, and it's Saturday or it's Sunday, which day.
Endless horseshit.
It's endless horseshit.
Yeah.
Right? And you have 4 billion people on Earth combined in one of these collective
and then
things.
They have all these like subsets too of them, like it's just freaking endless.
It's endless, and it's for some reason that one seems to be favored over all others when you take them combined. Yeah, and I think it's because it's very fear-based.
Yeah,
it's incredibly it's a very clever way, and we'll get into that later with cognitive dissonance.
Yeah, can't wait for that.
Holding opposite beliefs and somehow thinking that you understand something or that you have the only truth, even though you are flying out there with all kinds of opposing things, like the loving, wonderful God that will strike you dead and put you in hell forever. And somehow anyway.
It feels right, and I was told it my whole life, so it's got to be right, and it lines up with everything everyone I'm surrounded with, so it's got to be true.
Yeah, it's got to be true. So, and then you have them corrupting even like the. Of course, there's evil occultists out there. Most of them probably run the world. That has nothing to do with magic or witchcraft in general. And then you even like they can't even tolerate that being out there when it started to rise back up in popularity, and they realized, we can't stone them and hang them and burn them at the stake anymore. Mm-hmm. So what they do, they created their religion on it. Right? So that's where you get the Wicca and all the other stuff. Another group mind. Let's make everybody follow these doctrines and dogmas. We'll package them in books. And then people get stuck, and that's all they can see. I remember it was the debate between Ken Ham and Bill Nye, the not any kind of science guy. Remember? Bill,
yes.
Remember that? Remember that debate?
Yes.
I mean that is a classic example of people being stuck between two false choices. Yeah. You have Bill Nye, the not any kind of science guy, because he's not a scientist, and you have Ken Ham, the Noah's Ark. He's got the whole thing. It's built. I forget what state it's in. Is it in Ohio or Michigan or somewhere?
Yeah, I think it was Ohio. whatever.
They have rebuilt the Ark out there so people can walk through it. I mean, it's just unbelievable. But I remember when I was watching that debate, and I started to realize that, wait, who's to say this is it? These are the two choices you have. There's nothing else going on that you can look. I mean, it was clear to me when Ken Ham would point out something that Bill Nye had wrong, Bill Nye would never address it. The debate's not really about change. Yeah, he would skip over it or kind of deflect or deal with it through one of these cognitive techniques that people do to not lose an argument. And then same thing, but Ken Ham Bill Nye would point something that's clearly ludicrous in Ken Ham's worldview. It's clearly nuts to even believe some of the stuff Ken Ham believes. And the same thing, it would be deflection, rationalization, just whatever you had to get rid of that thing that we can't deal with because it destroys our worldview, and then to go back and forth. And at the end of the debate, I was like, well, I learned one thing. Both these two guys are idiots. Neither one of them knows what the hell is going on.
Yeah, it's the battle of the idiots.
Yeah, battle of the idiots. So back to the intention. So so we can, I guess, I don't think it requires any kind of special rituals or anything like that. It's just a matter of getting it into your subconscious.
Yep.
So that it, I think that's how, when reading a lot of these traditional books about magic and witchcraft, that seems to be the mechanism. You want to take something that you have an intention on from your conscious mind. You want to take it and transfer it to the subconscious and then have it broadcast out. And then you kind of want to put it out of your conscious mind and then let it just happen. Right? That's pretty much.
Yeah, just throw it out there and let it ride. And just try and, I think, the less resistance you give it, it seems to be more fruitful, or it delivers easier, better. But the other kind of wrench in everything is that it could deliver in the weirdest way possible. You could put that intention out there and it could come back at you and show it and prove itself to you, but it would be in a weird way, something you would never expect it to be, and it still, it may not necessarily fulfill what you want, but it'll be like, hey, this is, you're a creator being, this is what you're capable of, kind of like a little reminder. And then sometimes it'll just be, delivered, on a platter, exactly the way your intention wanted it.
Yeah. I think that happens that way, mm-hmm. because the subconscious mind, our consciousness is kind of not only imprisoned in our body, but it's also divided.
Yeah. Yeah. Fragmented.
And it's divided it's fragmented. It's divided in a diabolical way. Because here you have the subconscious mind, the more powerful part of yourself. This is where I think all the magic happens, so to speak, pun intended, right? So, but what is going on there? It's been stripped away. It can no longer commune basically with your logical thinking self. It is sort of like running amok. So it's acting more like a recorder and replayer. Whatever gets dumped in there just goes in and plays on a loop, right? Because mm-hmm. that's where we get stuck in habits, we get stuck in addictions, we get stuck in some crazy religion, it's number one, the way that we're sabotaged in the worst way, right? So yeah, when you take your intentions and you're trying to push it through your subconscious, you don't always know what the hell's going on in your subconscious, because you can have a lot of trash in there, and then it takes your conscious desires and logical thinking and just shit cans it because it's all imagery and it's non-linear, and then it's going to shove it through in some bizarre way sometimes. It may not deliver what you want or deliver it in some skewed way because, I mean, let's face it, the Abrahamic religions, for example, the Christianity and all of them really, it's fear-based and it's in their subconscious mind. If you're born into one of these religions, you first of all, from the time you're born to about the 6th, 7th year of life, you're incredibly spongy with things getting into your subconscious. So if you have really bad information, it gets in there. It's kind of stuck in there.
Yeah.
And then where do you go after you're 6 or 7 years old? You go to the indoctrination brainwashing factory, the AKA schools. And then you have nowadays and the programming that comes out of the television or all the reinforcement of bad thoughts and ideas that are coming from people that you're surrounded with in your culture. And it's a miracle that we get along at all.
I agree. It's absolutely insane because it's set up so perfectly. So they know exactly when to place us in certain situations. And then you have I like to bring up the intergenerational indoctrination that occurs. Our parents, parents, on and on and on. And it just keeps fucking going until this damn thing, and good luck getting this done. It's never going to happen in our lifetime. But, the audience listening who has children and things like that can start working on this method is where it has to start in the home. There's just no other way around it. It has to start, if you have children, you got to start it when they're young and let them know, look, you're going to go to school. If you're not homeschooling them, you're going to go to school. You're going to be surrounded by a bunch of crazy shit. You're going to be told all this crazy shit. And a lot of it's lies and a lot of it's set up to brainwash you. I mean, imagine having to tell a 6 or 7 year old that. I mean, it's just, but if you get them when they're young and you go through it and you talk with them and encourage them and make it funny and interesting and with, show them love and care and, bring them out in nature, things like this, keeping things simple but honest with a twist of fun, then things can start to change within the family lineage. Hopefully, as long as someone down the road doesn't get lost and fly back into the bullshit. But short of that, it's a damn miracle that any of us have gotten to where we are today. The system is so set up in a way that it makes it near impossible for people to wake up. And, that's going to kind of go to the whole sabotage thing, when you start seeking later on in life.
Oh, sure. Yeah. So how many times have you found out that some religious fundamentalist used to be an atheist, or there's an atheist and now is a religious fundamentalist? And none of these people ever stop. And I mean, when I started this, I was so flooded with so many cognitive dissonance and biases. But see, I was aware, I had studied psychology. I was aware of these things, but I wasn't looking at myself yet and saying, wait a minute, I'm sabotaging my own investigations. I have from kindergarten to the end of high school, Catholic school indoctrination. And it was polluting everything. Yeah. It was polluting everything. And as soon as I made some simple rules, which is something, first of all, you can't be disturbed by information that counters what some premise you're already thinking. is
That's
true.
like number one. I mean,
you
it's
can't. Yeah,
just
you're just
can't.
gonna have to deal with it. Yeah, you gotta just man up and deal with it. Just deal with it. You may be wrong. Number two, you have to not hold something up by having this internal argument with yourself constantly to maintain it, float it. The cognitive dissonance. You have to be incredibly aware that you're propping something up.
Yep.
And then if you just do what I've said repeatedly over and over again, take in the totality of the information. Don't have any. Evidence is evidence. So if it's like near-death experience testimony, that is direct evidence.
Exactly.
I really get irritated when people call it anecdotal. Okay,
yeah.
Go into any courtroom. Go into any courtroom and say you witnessed something. Then tell the court what under oath what you witnessed, and the court is never going to say, "Well, that's anecdotal." No, it says right in their court rules that is considered direct evidence. Now, somebody can try to cross-examine you and see if you're lying about anything. But if you witnessed something, you witnessed it. An NDE is a witnessed event. It is direct evidence. It is not anecdotal.
And then there's all the patterns. I mean, the endless patterns. I mean, you get professional researchers up there and to be cross-examined, and they would say the same thing over and over, well, mostly the same thing. Hitting those data points time and time and time again, showing the same damn shit.
Yeah, absolutely. There is a website. I was looking around earlier because I was getting ready for this. It's maybe I should just should I just put it in the chat?
Sure. I don't. I may not. I'll try to get it up, but yeah. Send me the link just in case. I'm not. Sometimes I need to kind of prepare it, but yeah, send it over. I'll give it a shot.
It's a website that people can just look it up. It's the thedecisionlab.com/biases. thedecisionlab.com/biases. This is just a list, and it's not all of them. This is just a list of known things that are going to screw with your ability to see the truth of something. Cognitive dissonance, of course, is one of them, and it's one of my favorites because that one really is
society in a nutshell.
Yeah, it just explains so many problems. When you're able to float opposing ideas in your head and make yourself think that you have it all figured out somehow and you have the correct answer, even though you have to float opposite ideas. That whole Ken Ham, Bill Nye debate was full of cognitive dissonance from both of them.
Loaded.
But this is a huge list, and this isn't even all of them. Like, what kind of diabolical creator would create human beings? This is all designed.
Yeah.
Look, this is insane. If this was a computer and you were looking at this, you just have to overwrite the whole operating system.
Yeah, you'd be like, it's a virus, or it needs to be patched about 1,000 times.
These all act like viruses. They all act like viruses. And human beings, the physical brain it filters the consciousness, and because it interacts with the consciousness, it is acting like a program. Yeah. And
it runs in unison with the astral and here, and that's what's even crazier is how they both link and feed off on one another.
Right. Yeah. You have your astral body, right? Your etheric body, I think they call it.
Yeah.
And
subtle body, whatever. Yeah.
The Karen and Tina there from Quantum Healing. They were talking about that too. That your etheric body is also connected to this whole system here. The Earth astral is still a part of the system. Yeah. And this is big multiverse out there. Who knows what the hell is beyond this tiny little Loosh farm that we're on, the garden that someone from somewhere made. But once you get out of here, I'm sure sky's the limit. This is like what I say, the prison is like a school. I mean, it's, in one way, that may be the only thing I agree on with some of these new agers that think this is a school of some kind. Well, it is sort of like a school if you think of what you can learn as being imprisoned.
Yeah,
can give you schooling.
That's
so
it.
when you get to hell, when you get out of here, when we use our intention to not reincarnate here and not participate in the Loosh mechanics here, we are not naive anymore. We will not be fooled by this shit anymore. We're going to be free and sovereign and individualized, and who knows what we're capable of.
Yeah, right? I mean that's kind of the only lesson, is to learn that you're in a dumpster fire prison, and that you need to reclaim yourself and with a sovereign and liberated mindset. That's it. I mean, that really is it.
There was even a TV show back in the 70s or 80s that had like a guy that went to prison, and then from all the stuff he learned from all the criminals, when he got out, he was able to be like a vigilante type justice guy, because he knew how to do all these things like criminals do, but he used it for good. So that, and let's see.
Is that the guy who owned a bunch of electronic stores in the tri-state area up north? Or am I thinking of someone else?
Oh, no. You mean Crazy Eddie?
Yeah, that's who I was thinking of. Crazy Eddie. Yeah. Wrong person.
Oh, no, he was just a crook. I think he was just a crook.
His prices are insane.
Yeah. That's funny. You should mention that. I was watching The Accountant earlier today.
Mm-hmm.
Have you ever seen that movie?
Yeah, isn't it's been a while since I've seen it. Who's in that? Is it like Ben Affleck? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, and Kendrick, the girl that is in Pitch Perfect. There's this part in the movie where he figures out the accounting scam that this company was pulling off, and this is what I mean, that the Matrix is overloaded, breaking down. I was just watching this a few hours ago. There's a scene in the movie where he references Crazy Eddie.
What?
Yes, there's a scene in the movie where he figures out how this company was scamming money by stealing from itself and then returning it to itself. This through some kind of scam, they were stealing the money from themselves but giving it right back to the company. And somehow this was like something that he said in the movie. He says, it's the same thing Crazy Eddie did. He explained it in the scene.
I mean, what are the chances? I mean, we just had some weird shit like that in the past together. I mean, of all the references that come up, Crazy Eddie, and you watch a movie today and I talk about it, it's just, what?
The Loosh farm, because the Loosh farm is a matrix, and it operates very similar to like a video game.
Mm-hmm.
And so randomness is only, I think it's a trick. It's like
same thing as
it can go so far, and then it has that's why we have synchronicity and all this other stuff, and that's why our non-physical, immortal, very expansive consciousness can probably still influence it, even though they've done everything in their power to, dumb us down to the lowest common denominator. Some of us here apparently aren't cut from the same consciousness cloth as everybody else, because there's a bunch of brain dead, zombified sheeple out there. But then there's people like you, me, the audience here listening for this podcast, people like the traditional witch. I interviewed Sophia Di Gregorio and all of her interesting information that she provided. There's all kinds of people out there, and they're not followers. They're not sheeple. They don't want to be slaves. And so if you were going to use some intentions to say, put some kind of strings attached to the Loosh that we're going to inevitably be producing here, as long as we're alive, right? Yeah. And there's no way around it.
No.
Because even though I spend most of my time thinking about this stuff, I'm still interacting with the physical world, and I'm still distracted by things in the physical world.
Yeah, you still have all the sensory bullshit,
right.
Hour to
I'm
hour.
Still going to get right. I'm still going to this is going to upset me. Oh, this guy over here is being an a-hole. I'm sitting next to at the restaurant or whatever, or I really don't like this. It's all this conflict interaction. And isn't that where the Loosh is coming from? Yeah. It also comes from love, right?
Comes from everything.
I don't know if there's different kinds of Loosh, but maybe instead of poisoning it, we can put some strings attached. In some sense, we're like the drug dealer of Loosh, right?
Yeah.
So, and anybody knows from watching any kind of police drama on TV shows and stuff like that, that a lot of times drug dealers have conditions. They don't just give out their stuff for free. Why should I give my the Loosh that I'm producing out for free? Maybe I want to be paid for it later in some way. One way is I get to know where the exit is, and I get to know, the mask comes off and I see the truth, and then where's the exit?
Yeah, that's there was something I was reading the other day that I wish I remembered, but it was talking about how there was 10,000, maybe this will ring a bell with you, like 10,000 doors or 10,000 realms, I guess you can say, contained within this matrix. And this isn't like it's not like some new age mumbo jumbo bull. It was something from an old sacred text, which doesn't mean it's authentic in any way. It's not something recent. Does that ring a bell by any chance with you?
No. Was it something to do with that? I haven't listened to that book yet. I downloaded an Audible, that book from the 1920s called The Book of the Damned.
No, not that one. I'll try taking a look during the break. Maybe I'll run across it. I'm not sure. Anyways, like it I think even if, I guess let me pose this question to you. If let's say we did this role reversal, okay, where we start throwing, Loosh with conditions. And part of the deal is, oh, well, you've got to provide the door. In the end, when you really strip it down, is it possible to even trust such a thing? Or even with intention running high, or maybe, because I just feel like everything could be put in the perfect hatchet job when we leave if the system does. Yeah, Charles Ford. That's I don't think it was Charles Ford on that one. That's what Dan was talking about. I'm sorry. Anyways, everything could be set up in a certain way where the system could come in and provide a certain illusion for us. And that's always been one of my biggest concerns when we leave here, is that if we kind of deviate in any way, shape, or form that isn't with sovereignty and liberation, that and some outside force is trying to say, oh, well, here's the door. Here's the door. Congratulations, you gave us all that Loosh and you figured us out, and here's the door. Do you walk through that door? Seriously.
Right. You can't trust any of these motherfuckers now. You can't trust any of these motherfuckers who tell us. No, you're right. I
just don't know.
You know what? That is absolutely, that is, no, you're right. Because I think it's just up to us to exit out of here by ourselves. Even if you think about, your consciousness, which only you can experience. Like I assume, I would imagine that you can relate to this. I'm sure, although there's some people out there that are like NPCs. I don't know if they have any internal dialogue or anything like that. But for the average person, especially the people that probably are interested in this subject, you inside your own imagination, inside your own consciousness, you can literally create your own world.
Yes.
You are like sometimes I'll have problems falling asleep. So I just kind of like imagine myself being somewhere relaxed, somewhere where I can relax. Maybe it's like a log cabin created in the woods, and it's winter time, it's snowing, and I'll start to create the whole environment. Now, this is all going internally inside me. But maybe in some way it's also real because I'm creating it in my mind.
Sure. No, yeah. I mean, it's things like that work, man. I'm with you. It's crazy how we can kind of trick ourselves, and who's saying it's even a trick? But I mean, it's a trick if you're trying to fall asleep. You're just trying to do yourself a favor. And just to kind of rewind just a bit on your previous thought, even if we, we're going to sit here and say, we're not necessarily going to, at least I'm not going to trust anything to tell me where to go. But that doesn't mean we can't apply what we were talking about with reversing this back onto them. I mean, I think it's a really heck of a thing to try. And
maybe
put
we
it back
just maybe we could just well, I mean, heavens knows, there's been plenty of real life cases where drugs were tainted and out there, and drug addicts found out the hard way when they did something that wasn't exactly what they were told is in it. And so
and it
sure.
can't hurt, right? I mean, it's worth a try. I mean, and what if what's the side effect? Oh, we make our lives better while we're here. Oh, how horrible.
Maybe we could reverse the polarity. Maybe we could reverse the polarity and have it parasite off of them and send back energy to us or something. I don't know. I mean, why should they be feeding off of us? Maybe we could feed off of them. I don't know. There's all kinds of endless possibilities because the imagination is endless for anybody that's actually conscious. And then but we honestly, because how many NDE cases have you read where as they were before they get interrupted, they describe, I'm paraphrasing because some people say it differently, but that they started feeling a massive expansion in awareness and consciousness, like almost like they were unchained, and now they're
being released, and like the genie's coming out of the bottle, so to say.
And we were given some kind of divine or godlike awareness. And because of that, we don't know what our limits are, right? So even the Sumerian text, it's funny how this stuff repeats itself, right? When they designed humans, the original, remember, I don't know if you probably read them. The first concepts were all fucked up, right? They were too many hands, or too weak, or they were too dumb.
They wanted it just perfect, where you're just enough to be a worker bee, but not too smart to take over the factory, so to say.
Right. Yeah. And then they incorporated but it makes it crystal clear, and they incorporated part of themselves. They took one of their beings and took its blood, or maybe even broke down its whole life or something, and then used that to mix in with Earth life.
Well, that's
make
like
us.
made in their image.
Made in their
Yeah.
image, exactly. So a lot of these things that are disinformation, like the major religions, they don't all lie about everything. There's going to be, the best lies always have a percentage of truth in there somewhere.
Absolutely.
And then they lead you astray with clever psychological manipulation. It's very narcissistic. It's psychopathic to do this to anybody else. You have to be evil to do it, I think. Clearly, you can't have empathy for. I don't understand these people that have no empathy for suffering of other, even animals. I don't want to see anything suffering. It feels bad. It feels horrible if you see somebody suffering or.
There's so much of it. Much of it.
And to try to justify it is it's all love and light. I don't know where honestly, you have to be. That's what I mean. That the delusional level that these filters. I mean, I focused a lot on the cognitive dissonance one because that one's just marvelous. Yeah, another one I always bring up is counterintuitiveness. You'll never see that in any other life form on Earth, especially any other life form that we haven't interfered with. I mean, there's plenty of life that we've interfered with and manipulated on Earth. But as far as like just other creatures that are on Earth and they're just part of nature, you can never find an example of counterintuitiveness. That is something that is like a human. It's just amazing. How could your intuition tell you to do the opposite of what works?
It does. It's crazy. Like I was just talking about this today, actually, in a comment section of someone's video. It's like there were times when I was, totally hooked in and feeling that what I was consuming was absolute truth, only to find out, months or, a year or so later that it was complete lies. And
you mean like a religion or something?
Actually, no, just kind of basic, not religions, just true, just like stuff related to, let's just say, when I basically back in the day when I was I went through like these phases where, how do I put this? Okay. Well, I went through the phases where, like you're younger, you believe in like the whole space narrative. Okay. Then you kind of graduate, and then like the system has a whole thing set up with this secret space program. And I'm not talking about these 20 and back clowns who claim that they go to other planets and blah blah, but like the system has it set up in a way where like if you're not buying into the mainstream narrative about the whole space thing, then the next step is to get you to believe that, oh well, the reason why they aren't doing these other missions is because they've got a black project, and that's the secret space program. So they're funding all these secret space programs to go there. And I was like, oh, well, that makes sense. It's like, okay, where the hell is the money going? If they're, screwing with us in this one area, then it's got to be another area. And then you kind of find out that that's all bullshit. And like, I mean, it just like I was convinced of certain things, and it just was like a cascade effect. And then finally, I always find that the deepest truths, you start off with the base mega lie, and then you kind of deconstruct, but you have to go through multiple layers of like the lie and the base concept of what you're consuming to unravel the truth of what's going on, whether it be true or false, doesn't matter. I mean, to, you know, and kind of weave in and out of things. You know,
sure.
and then like you would
It's
go
like
down the road and then come back and then realize it was all bull. I'm sorry.
Sure, it's just like the political landscape.
Yeah,
like here in America.
Yes.
Here, you still have unbelievable because of all the information that's available. Some people still think that the left is actually fighting the right, and that the right is actually fighting the left. They honestly can't see that it's all a combined thing that's controlling everybody. You have the savior formula, right?
Mm-hmm.
The savior formula. This is remarkable because
it's huge.
You have from a little after 2016, at some point, maybe 2017, 2018, you had this whole QAnon thing, which was very confusing to me when it was happening, because I was like, where are these people getting this information? I could never figure out at first where they were getting this information. Then I realized, wait, this is very similar to something that happened much earlier in history called Operation Trust, where they did the same thing. And then from there, I realized, wait a minute, this is the whole Jesus thing. This is just a repackaged, it's the savior thing. You don't have to do anything. You just sit tight and everything will be taken care of for you. And you've already been saved. You just don't know it yet. And people literally fall for this stuff. And then they go into this whole collective mindset and division. And they, and this is all happening all around us. This is why, and of course, if you look at it in the Loosh farm thing, this is exactly what they want. Bunch of people in constant conflict. Everybody battling everybody else. Nobody ever really wins. There's a Star Trek episode, the original series, where this parasite alien, I can't remember the name of the episode, but it was literally showing you this. It was false memories, conflict between the Enterprise crew and this Klingon ship.
Oh.
And they were both attacking each other repeatedly. And this thing was perpetuating the violence. It was feeding off of the conflict. It was the original Star Trek shows from the 60s. I know that if you look at them now, they look all goofy and the special effects are, 1960s TV, and it's kind of ridiculous. But the stuff that they were showing you in that show, some of those episodes were really profound. There was this fun. Yeah, this non-physical. It was a non-physical entity. It was an alien of some type or some kind of being, but it wasn't physical, and it was creating conflict, constant conflict between, and it was perpetuating. It had also contained them so they were racing through space, trapped on board the ship, which you could represent. You're trapped here on Earth, and you're not figuring out what's going on. And they had the Klingons controlling certain key sections of the ship, and then they had the human or the Federation crew controlling other key sections. And because it was all divided kind of evenly, neither one could win. All they could do was fight each other.
Total setup, hatchet job.
Yeah, and then you look at how Earth works, and people still think that, oh, I got to get my side in, or this side and that side, and sometimes they let one win a little bit higher than the other one, but when you really look back at it all, it's really just a constant repeating cycle. We never get anywhere. You never get anywhere.
Same old crap, man. Same old crap. Vision Seeker says Day of the Dove. Does that sound right? Does that sound like the episode?
You know what? Day of the Dove. Let me see. Hold on.
Okay. Well, while you're taking a look at that, I'm just gonna give a couple thanks to some super chats here. I would like to thank Vision Seeker for your very kind donation. Thank you so much. Says, thank you for addressing this most important subject. It is so needed. Thank you for your very kind generosity, my friend. Nicholas, $5 super chat. Thank you so much. Very much appreciated, my friend. Thank you. And also would like to give a special thanks to Vince for your very kind super chat. Thank you, brother. Very much appreciated. And Mary, Party of One, thank you so much, sister, for your very kind and generous support as well. Any luck on that?
Yeah,
Okay.
I got it. That is the episode. So it's from season 3, episode 11, Day of Dove. And listen to this description. This is from the memoryalphafandom.com page, where they have a lot of sci-fi stuff on there. An extremely powerful, non-corporeal being brings the Enterprise and a Klingon ship in direct conflict with one another. And it talks about how, basically it's feeding off of the conflict. So it has to perpetuate it constantly. As the Klingons battle cruisers in it. So let's see. Sorry, I'm reading. Wow, this is a big long description. Wow, has all the details of the episode.
Well, you could pop up the link too, and people could check it out if you want to pop it in the live chat. Or if there's anything else you want to.
Let me put it in the live chat. Yeah, I'm just trying to drop it in there right now.
And
is it there?
I don't see it in YouTube yet. Or did you pop it in Zoom?
No, I put it on YouTube.
Sometimes it's a delay on my end, so it's probably in there. It might be delayed.
Like right after Vision Seeker 68 says you're doing a great job, Mark. Then there's the link.
Yeah, I don't see it. Oh, you know what it is? You know what? Just type hello. Just type anything in the chat. I think it's because you don't have a wrench in there.
I typed hello.
I thought I put a wrench. I thought I gave you a wrench. There we go. What the hell? Hold on.
A wrench?
Yeah, hold on. All right, now try it.
Now put the link in?
Yeah, it doesn't let everyone put links for some reason.
Oh, yeah, I can imagine for spam.
Yeah, you can try it now, though.
How about there it is.
Okay, cool. There we go.
Yeah.
All right, great.
They had the dub. I mean, they had the. I mean that episode is the Loosh Matrix in one episode.
Nice.
I just remember it because I used to watch that show all the time when I was little. Now I see it more. The show is also bad. Just like everything out there, they have this. I'm sure a lot of people used to like the whole Alex Jones thing, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, you have at some point you got to figure out this is truth and disinformation. It's like very clever PSYOP formula they're using here, but man, is this effective? And it's the same thing with Star Trek. I mean, on one hand, they're showing you all this really interesting stuff in the original episode, but on the other hand, Star Trek is all about collective thinking, group mind. Yeah. I mean, what is the Federation?
Well, and space. I mean, Christ, just the whole thing with space is ridiculous. And I mean, how that whole thing has been portrayed here. I mean, it's just, and like the whole, the collective. I mean, it's so much. It's nuts.
Yeah, I have my own way of looking at the whole space thing, which probably differs from yours, Mark, but that's okay. I just feel it's more, it's the holographic reality allows for a very expanded operating area, because it is weird that that when they did all those analysis of the cosmic background radiation years ago, they kept finding the Earth supposedly is in the center of it. Mm-hmm. Which doesn't make any sense to the physical scientists, the materialist scientists studying this stuff, because Earth is supposed to be in some random meaningless spot. But of course, when you read that whole account of the Loosh creation, it doesn't draw a line as to where exactly does the Loosh farm end. Matter of fact,
Yes.
in some of my earlier episodes, I theorized that the Matrix may be the entire universe. That this is one universe.
That's kind of my thought too.
All of it is part of the Matrix.
Yeah.
And that you have to actually exit out of this whole universe.
Yep.
And if you think of reality as possibly having many universes, even Robert Monroe had experiences where he ended up in completely bizarre realms or other universes, or he described them, and there was all different types of, everything was different. There was places where nothing that we can relate to even existed there. So there's, who knows the amount of universe, but I think that the Loosh farm isn't just Earth, but it's somehow a massive holographic projected reality.
Yeah. No, I'm with you.
And so it has, because if it's like a holograph, it's designed is basically mathematics. Now, I'm not a math genius, but I know if you build something in a computer, virtual space that doesn't actually exist, but the computer can show it to you on the monitor, it looks real, which is essentially what we're experiencing, right? You're kind of jacked into your body, and so the hologram here looks real. And then a mathematical algorithm, or however they make the reality concocted all together, you can actually have infinity inside the universe that you created, because it's just that you just allocate that much space. I mean,
you overwhelm it. If you get overwhelmed with the size, it kind of the actual truth of it kind of falls by the wayside, because there's so much to see, so much to explore, so much weirdness, so many different worlds and contained within that universe that, good luck kind of weeding yourself through all that crap, and likely never getting bored or manipulated.
Right. And so you can have you can also have it so that it's tries to preserve its it's not designed. I think there is something to the fact that things don't even exist unless there's a consciousness there to observe it.
Sure.
That these things kind of like generate on the fly, and that's why sometimes we have glitches and things that don't, are unexplainable. People have these odd experiences. I mean, when you are playing a video game and you turn, if you're in like a first person game, right? So you're like inside, it's kind of weird to think about it. You're inside of a body, inside of a hologram, playing a video game on a computer that's part of the hologram, inside of another body that you're moving around with joysticks. And how does the computer deal with that? The computer has to preserve as much of its resources as possible. So whatever you're looking at exists, but as you turn, it generates it back to reality as you're looking at it.
Yeah, the observer effect.
Yeah, there's nothing to the left. There's nothing to the right of you. The only thing that's actually there is whatever you're looking at.
I mean, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, go ahead. Go.
I was just going to say that our physical reality may also work something like that. It may enable the reality to be there. Now, I have more of a deeper appreciation for consciousness than like the guy who wrote the book Biocentrism. I forget what his name is. This book I read a long time ago, where a biologist, he came up with that same theory that basically nothing's there. The kitchen isn't there when you go in the bedroom and there's nobody in the kitchen. The kitchen becomes there because you re-enter the kitchen. But I think that consciousness isn't limited. That consciousness isn't limited to humans. So, in my view, anything that's alive. That's why I think they like the whole Schrodinger's cat thing is kind of arrogant. It presumes that only the human can observe something and affect it, but the cat's in the box. Isn't the cat alive?
Mm-hmm.
The cat's observing things, isn't it? So why do they assume that the cat is both alive and dead till some human opens up the box? When the cat is in the box and it's a living thing. If you had a box with nothing alive, then
no, that's. I mean,
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, I mean, we can even say that. I mean, almost anything can have consciousness, really. I mean, but whether it's, we can't compare it to ourselves necessarily, of course, because, we lack, we can't communicate with our dog. We can't communicate. I mean, we can loosely communicate with our dogs, but, or a rock, or, I mean, you can communicate a little bit with like a tree or something like that. You can communicate with all sorts of things, but it's very limited scope. And we don't have a perspective to understand that their communication, and they don't necessarily have a way to perceive our communication with them beyond a certain limited parameters. But one of the biggest realizations I had, like with filming orbs and this reality, is that there are things freaking everywhere. There are beings all around each and every one of us as we sit here, everywhere, and in mass scales.
You mean in the astral plane right around us?
Well, yeah, I mean, we're like in our world. I mean, we could say, yeah, it's part of the astral, but they're right here, and I think they can insert themselves into something stupid like this pencil sharpener. I mean, you can put a light on a pencil sharpener, and you can see maybe, if you mess around with it, maybe incorporate some water, you might be able to see something like an entity in this. Now, can you communicate with that entity? I don't know. Is the observer effect creating that illusion in front of us? I don't know.
There's a question. Yeah, there's a question.
Sure.
From Enemy of 322. Mm-hmm. FC, can you ask Dan on what he thinks of the video game?
Omicron.
I don't know what that is.
Okay. I think I sent you that video. It was the one, with David Bowie talking about souls getting lured in the bodies.
Oh, yeah. Well, how many pieces? I mean, I don't know what the hell goes on in Hollywood or the entertainment industry, but they just seem to constantly show us stuff that, like the movie The Matrix or David Bowie. I mean, David Bowie did make a lot of weird, wasn't his last music video dealt with all kinds of spiritual stuff,
chocked full with occult symbolism.
Yeah. They're constantly shoving that in our faces. They're putting it in every kind of piece of entertainment, just about. Have you ever seen the Kingsman? Kingsman movies?
Yeah, I've seen one. There's multiple.
There's three of them actually. Okay. One is a prequel that shows you the beginning, and they have it in your face. The corrupt and secret evil cabal that run the world. And of course they have the savior heroes, which are the Kingsmen, which are running out there, taking care of business, because, unfortunately we live in a world where we don't have anything like that. All we have is the evil cabal that runs the world. And then the rest of us out here trying to get by, because we have to take care of ourselves. Nobody's going to come save us. we have to take care of ourselves. That's the only
way.
But they're constantly showing us everything. I mean, how many times? I mean, at least for me, I sit there and I pick apart everything I watch when I'm watching something. I'm constantly analyzing what I'm watching, and I'm like, oh, look at that. They're showing you this, that, and the other thing. Now, there was some kind of major decline in the entertainment industry after 2016. You notice a major decline in storytelling, imagination seems to have disappeared. They don't seem to follow. Yeah, they don't seem to follow like a good or clever storyline or story arc. It's like they just dump characters on the screen and hopefully you won't notice that there's no actual story here, that they're just showing you really fancy cinematography and special effects.
Well, they destroy everything.
They have literally been on the path of destruction of everything in the last 3 or 4 years for some reason. It's almost like they're on self-destruct.
It is.
But I mean, even as far back as the ancient Greeks, there's a very simple, effective way to tell a story so people can relate to it. It has to have an arc because people go through their own story arcs in real life.
It makes it relatable.
It makes it relatable. Yeah, you can't have a flat character that has no arc. But how many of the new movies in 2020, 2021? When you're watching it, you're like, oh my gosh, who the hell wrote this script? What the hell am I watching? And then you have, what do you think? This is kind of off, but
you know, what do you think about? Can we hold the thought? We've gone like up to about an hour and a half. We'll take about a 5-minute break and then we'll return. So
okay, and then don't forget we want to take some questions.
Yeah, we're already at about an hour and a half. So got about a half hour to go. So we'll take about a 5-minute break and we'll see you back here in a few minutes, my friends. Thank you so much, Dan. See you shortly.
Okay.
Thank you. If you could just mute your mic, please.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Do. Yes. Yes, I'm ready.
All right, going back in, Dan. Alrighty, we are back, my friends. Thank you so much for your patience. Okay, before we continue on with Dan, I would like to give a special thanks to Veracity Media, whoa, for joining the Last Timers Club and extending your subscription. Thank you so much. All right, Dan. Let's get back into it. I'm sorry to have to kind of cut off your thought in the last segment.
It's just we were just talking about entertainment industry anyway. We kind of got off subject a little.
Yeah, well, it happens.
Yeah, it does. It does because because of all the cognitive stuff that people have to deal with. Just even to try to maintain, where you are, you get sidetracked all the time.
You mean all the bullshit, right there?
Yeah, all the bullshit. Yes, all the bullshit. Yeah, yeah. What was I going to ask you? It was something completely irrelevant, but I was just going to ask you what you thought about what happened to Bruce Willis.
Oh, I don't know much about it. All I know is he's got some weird disease, right? That he can't talk or something, right?
It's like almost. It's almost like it sounds almost like some kind of like thing that's like Alzheimer's.
Alzheimer's, yeah, that was kind of my.
But it's
thing, yeah.
But it's not Alzheimer's. It's something else. Where you can. But the way they described it to me, it sounded very much like Alzheimer's. You forget where you're at, what you're doing. I was wondering why he was making all these bad movies lately. And he didn't seem to be acting normal. But when you look at what he was doing and what the problem was, I kind of see. But see, that's the thing. We have a human body and a brain, right? And it's manipulating our consciousness. And if it gets damaged, isn't it weird how a simple biological change and this proves that consciousness is so much more than the physical brain, because you can have these unexplainable, so many diverse things that can happen, right? You can have like something like Bruce Willis, where he has decayed and his brain now is no longer allowing consciousness to be like it was before. You can have a person with all these mental disorders, real bad Alzheimer's. A couple of hours before they die, they get what's called terminal lucidity.
It's a big one.
Right now, the brain is still severely damaged, but somehow the consciousness is able to overcome because it's about ready to depart. Yeah. And so they get total cognitive functioning.
Yeah, it's as if they are completely healthy. That's how crazy it is.
I saw it.
It's nuts. Oh, you did too. Yeah, same
I
here.
actually saw it, and it was years and years ago before I knew any of this stuff. And it was a few hours before someone died, and they completely were like, wow, it's like they're completely back.
And then they go.
And then I left the care center where they were at, and went to dinner. We're at a restaurant, got a phone call. They passed away.
Yeah. It's usually in the very, very last moments, last days, last hours, and then they're gone.
Right.
Yeah.
And then they're gone. So you have this reducing valve, for lack of a better word. That's what Rupert Sheldrake described it. Reducing our consciousness, filtering it down to this fractional level, and then but something can get screwed up. Like if somebody's born with some kind of autism or a certain condition, now they're this unbelievable mathematician or musician, or they can they're able to perceive things you can't even begin to calculate, and they can just know it immediately. You know, you can have like people out there like human calculators that can figure out any number, any division problem, any multiplication problem. It just pops into their head like a calculator. And all these little glitches that happen in just humans, because number one, I think our design is kind of shitty. We're just not really well made. They made us, I think they made the human avatar so that consciousness could incarnate into it, and so that they could get good quality loosh out of it. And that's all we are to them, to the archontic forces that run the matrix. And it's interesting because we may be at the same level as them. Wasn't in Rob Monroe's books a gatekeeper that gave you like a terms of service, right? And
yeah.
Didn't it seem like this gatekeeper, I don't think was perceived as anything different than any other non-corporeal being in like this vast spiritual multiverse, when it's not like he had any authority over anybody. It was the trick was to get people attracted to the earth,
yes,
to want to incarnate here, to have this unusual experience,
and that's
yeah, and then it seemed to me, and why wouldn't it be, if you're existing in kind of like a non-dualistic reality, you're at peace all the time. You're also very naive.
Yeah.
You may not have ever encountered any kind of subterfuge or trickery or
something like that, or something that intense and different.
Right. And when you're looking at it from the outside, Earth might seem like this. Wow, this is different. Seems like some kind of excitement that I've never imagined before. Yeah, I want to try this out.
And just think, you don't know, you don't even know what pain is. You don't know what suffering is. You don't know what a body is and everything that comes with it. So just those things alone, it's like you're going in blind and ignorant.
Yes, wasn't there an NDE? It may have been one you were reviewing, where the woman was like saying that intellectually she understood the suffering, but it didn't register as anything like to take seriously when she was not physical.
I don't know if it was one that I covered. It might have been a rebirth memory, maybe.
It could have been.
I'm not 100% sure.
I kind of relate to what, you kind of like, from using just your imagination, relate to what she was saying. She was saying like, well, it's not like I was looking at it as being human. I was looking at it from my spiritual, non-corporeal place, and it was just an intellectual exercise. Suffering and death and destruction and mayhem and conflict. When you think about it, you that's the biggest danger, I think, is that you get out of here and then you think, oh, that was ridiculous. Let me try it again.
Yeah. Well, and then you get lost too. I mean, and there's the addiction thing we were talking about too. Addiction to this sensory experience that crosses between realms, and then the memory wipe. I mean, where you lose like huge portions of yourself, and then it just keeps going and going, and then you have time to deal with. Oh my God. I mean, it's really diabolical how this whole thing is set up. And even how, in the book, Monroe talks about, pretty sure he talks about how it's basically it's attractive to us. I hope I'm not mixing up things, but
no. He called it mental noise.
Yeah. That's it. Mental noise. Where it lures us in.
Yeah, he said it was M band or mental M band or mental noise. The way he described it, it's like when I'm looking in the light outside and you watch all the bugs crashing into the light constantly.
Yeah.
I always try to figure out why do they want to go into that light constantly? Why are they trying to get into the light?
Yeah.
And you know, it's also like, in order not to violate free will, which I think we all have, and in order not to violate some kind of natural law, the system is very cleverly designed because you imprison yourself.
Exactly.
They don't do it. Yeah, they don't have any authority to do it by, you know, imposing some kind of authority on you. They have to have you do it yourself. Otherwise, I'm not sure what would happen, but I think there must be some kind of mechanism. See,
consequences.
The reality is that the ultimate creator of everything can't really interfere in anything if that ultimate creator actually gave us free will.
Yeah.
So by creating the multiverse or the all realities and like the, I guess what do they call it? The the 0 point, the point, the actual point of creation, whatever that was, is if we actually have free will, it can't be any interference.
Yeah, it can't be violated. Yeah, no.
Otherwise, we wouldn't have free will.
Yeah, we're going towards it. If we're going towards the M band frequency, that's consent. We pull up to the door, the gates, whatever, and agree to the terms of service. We come in, we're in their world under their agreement, and that's it. I mean, that's really what it boils down to.
It was very clear in Monroe's book that beings were very rushed to get in here.
Oh, yeah, the big line, yeah.
Yeah, that they didn't seem to pay attention to the terms of service. They were like, yeah. Let me try.
Yeah, that's us.
I mean, we do it all the time here. We do it all the time here. Everywhere you go, every electronic device that you turn on has a terms of service. Who has read the terms of service?
That's it.
Who's read them?
That's
no one.
Yeah, it's proof right there. Yep.
No one reads them. No one. It's like you look at it like, oh my gosh, there's like a bajillion words here. It goes on forever. I just check agree and start using. I mean, there's been times where I've tried to kind of like skim through them, but it's all like, oh my gosh, there's so much legalese here. It's like, who can make heads or tails out of this? But they're very upfront. They're going to tell you exactly what they're going to use the information for. They don't lie about it. You know, even when you signed up to use YouTube, they give you terms of service.
Yeah, you agreed to it. That's it. Yeah.
Right. And so you have naiveness, beings that have lived or existed in non-duality and some kind of non-conflict, and then they come across something like this, and then it looks very exciting. There's all this energy, all this chaos. What the hell is this? And then you get offered an opportunity to try it, and it doesn't violate your free will. And I think that the natural laws are very simple. It goes by the sentient level of your being. And once you get to our level, which is kind of like a godlike, divine type upper level where you have this awareness of your awareness, there's more rules. And so like the lion in the jungle, his rules are quite simple. All the lion has to do is be a lion. All he has to do is listen to his intuition, his instinct, and he's fine. It's not wrong if he kills and eats something because that's exactly what he's designed to do.
For sure.
However, humans are at a whole other level. So now we have natural rights and we have natural law that is a different kind of law than the natural law of like animals. And we have to, you kind of have, it's like a law of individuality, which is constantly under attack here on Earth. You have your rights, which are things that you can do. There's never anything that has to be done for you. It can't be that way. Otherwise, that would be actual slavery. It's only things that you can do, and as long as they don't interfere with the rights of others. It's very simple. It basically comes down to don't initiate violence and don't steal. That's basically all you have to do to get along with people. That is all corrupted with legalese and complicated laws where they complicate everything to the point where you need lawyers and things. Everything's all complicated here. And I think that in order to have the system function and not violate natural law and your free will, you agree to participate in this shit show. So when you come in and incarnate here, get your mind wiped because they're going to tell you that we're gonna make you forget who you are temporarily, and they have to have an out though. They can't just give you terms of service that enslave you forever, because that would also be a violation of natural law. And so there has to be an exit. You have to choose to do it. And I think I mentioned this once before in that TV show Lucifer. That was kind of like a comedy. It's based on a comic book. There are a couple times where hell is described as a place. There's even one episode where he kind of like laughs because he says, there are no actual doors down there. People can leave anytime they want, but they never leave. I've never had anybody leave.
Yeah, no one ever stood up for themselves.
Yeah, they don't. What are they trapped by? Their own guilt. They're guilty of something, and they're reliving the worst moments over and over again. That was how that show portrayed hell. And isn't it kind of like what people do here? People get stuck. They are constantly repeating the same mistakes over and over again.
It's on and on and on and on and on. Just
it never ends. It never ends. So, but I think so. It's got to conform to free will. So the exit shouldn't really be that difficult when you really want to get out. But so anyway, do you want to take some questions?
Actually, just 1 minute, Dan. I have to handle something. Just 1 minute here.
Okay.
To Mr. UnplugTheMatrix, I've done a lot of digging on you, and what you did to Wayne and the bullshit you pulled here, it's over. I'm calling your ass out. You're a fraud. You're a shyster. You're a piece of shit, and we all know it now. Okay, so changing names, playing Wayne for a fool, it's over. Okay, so let it be known in Reddit land and here on YouTube and wherever else this video goes, whoever else hears it, that not buying your crap anymore. Okay, so take a hike, don't come back. All right, sorry, Dan.
Oh, that's
he infiltrated Wayne and did all sorts of messed up. I mean, it's unacceptable. He's a piece of shit. Okay, so
okay, all right, sounds good. Yeah, you got to police your live stream. That's why.
I mean, what he did to Wayne. It's what he did to Wayne. Yeah, I mean that. I mean, I can handle it, but it's like, he infiltrated Wayne and sent this whole ridiculous story. And then, of course, when I interviewed Wayne, it came out on here during one of our talks. And you know, he shows up once in a while and puts all this garbage in the chat. And I thought I got rid of him in the past, but I'm glad he showed up. So I hope you heard me.
I'm sure he did.
Well, I hope the whole damn internet hears it. Spread it around on Reddit, because I'm so sick of your crap, it's not even funny. All right. That's the end of that.
Okay.
So unplug the Matrix. Go fuck yourself. Okay. That now I'm done. I'm really done.
He's unplugged now.
Yeah, he's unplugged, all right. and unplugged, just one more thing. I will be doing a video on you. Just so you know.
Oh,
I've saved quite a bit. Yeah, and by the way, check out Wayne's website, trickbythelight.com.
Oh yeah,
and check
that is a good site.
And check out the insight.
That is a mother load of information there. It's wow. Does he have a lot on there?
Yeah, I love Wayne. And check out Dan, OverWatchProject.com, our illustrious guest.
Thanks. So, do we have any questions?
Yes.
Last time we kind of cut everybody off, and I don't want to do that this time. Maybe next show we can do all questions or something.
Yeah,
but I just thought maybe we could answer like 10 minutes of questions or something like that before we end this.
Yeah. Let's head to. I got some here. Okay, from J Moss. If Loosh is also positive energy, what is the positive energy used for?
That's very interesting. Well, the way Monroe described it, he compared it to like a drug, and there seemed to be different types of Loosh, right? It wasn't just like one kind of Loosh. It seemed like
different
it was
grades or whatever.
Different grades of Loosh. So I would say, I mean, what was the question now? If it's some of it's positive?
Okay, if Loosh is also positive energy, what is the positive energy used for? I don't think we can really know that, but
we can't know. But if you compare it to drugs, in a proper quantity for a specific purpose, a drug can be a good thing. If you're in chronic pain and you're taking a painkiller and you're not abusing it, it can be a good thing. Can alleviate the pain. I mean, I'm getting old, you know. I have some knee pain sometimes. I have some joint pain. I pop a couple Advil and then I'm good to go. You know, I mean, this is, you know, but you can also overload. You can overload on that stuff and it can become very bad for you. So
I love that comparison. Yeah. I mean, it's like I mean, it could be compared to like drugs like the uppers, the downers, or I mean, and everything in between. It's just it's just because it's still kind of everything kind of funnels into the same thing, right, Dan? It's like everything funnels into this master control system with energy extraction. Positive or negative, but it seems they really, really love the negative more than anything. But at the end of the day, as long as they got you, that's all that matters. They could just recycle you another lifetime, send you some other realm, and still use and abuse you. Yeah,
of course. I mean, if love produced this valuable substance that they wanted so much, this planet would be full of love. But instead, it's full of the opposite. Love is here, but maybe it has to be here. I mean, you can't have a planet completely evil because the ecosystem would collapse. There'd be nothing to prop it up. So they give you hopium, the hope, and they give you access to love and some goodness. I mean, there are a lot of good people in the world. Otherwise, the whole system here there would be no. What would be the point? You in order to have a farm, you need to have a balance, right? Mm-hmm. Farmers know this. They can't have an imbalanced crop or everything goes to shit. and you will have nothing. They have to be very careful as to when to plant something, how to rotate the crops, right? You can't keep planting the same plant, the same dirt.
Yeah, keep an eye on the soil levels and water levels and nutrition and yada, yada, yada.
I mean, Earth here seems to be run that way. I mean, everything we have of recorded history is simply repeating the same process over and over again. Remove individuality, make people group think, dumb everybody down, keep everybody fighting, but that would, that if you just had that part of it, the whole system would collapse. So you have to also have some times of love. Isn't it? There's a song. Isn't it come right out of the Bible? There is actually a song from like the 70s. Everything has its time, a time to hate, a time to love, a time for war, a time for peace.
Yeah.
And, if you look at it under the Loosh farm lens, of course, it has to be that way. You can't have just war all the time. Even though there's a war going on somewhere all the time, you can't have like even world wars. They have to have a time limit. They can't just keep going. There would be nothing left. Everybody would be dead. You wouldn't have a Loosh farm anymore. Isn't it funny that both world wars lasted almost the exact same amount of time?
Yeah, and then the date to World War I's ending was right on a license plate. I don't remember who it was. You ever see that?
No, but it makes sense because I think that it makes sense because I think the whole the system here isn't as random as it pretends to be.
Yeah,
and so I hope that answers that question.
Yeah.
What else you got?
Let's see. Okay, from Mary Party of One. Mary says, I'm sorry, did I miss it? Was there a suggestion given for how to taint the Loosh we produce?
Okay, so we talked about like traditional witchcraft and projecting intention. So, if you sit down and you simply, you don't have to study witchcraft or anything. All this stuff has to do with the mindset and intention. So you want to focus your mind on making something happen, and especially since you're dealing with non-physical things anyway. We have no idea what the hell. It's one thing where we can have an intention and you can see it manifest in the physical world. That's very powerful because the physical world here has very controlled environment. But we don't even have a clue because we never actually try. Who tries to project things into the non-physical? We don't know any. We may not have any limits there. Every now and then, I will get irritated thinking about these archontic parasitic entities around me, and I will imagine me generating like a massive firestorm all around me and having them all burn and flee away from me. And in Robert Monroe's book, when he's first coming out of body and experience, and some other books too from out of body experiencers, when they write about those little imps and things that show up, because a lot of people are afraid when they first come out of body and they have that experience. And after, if you keep at it, you get to know that you can project energy from yourself and make these things scatter away from you. So simply having the imagination that, hey, my Loosh is going to be sour. They're not going to like it. It's going to be like sour milk. Or vinegared wine. It's going to be horrible. And just kind of like manifest that. And so as you go throughout your day, especially if you're in a moment where you think you're generating Loosh, like you're driving down the road, and you have well, especially where we live, some of the worst drivers in America, and you feel your grip on the steering wheel as somebody's doing something insanely stupid or around you, and you're like, what the heck? At that moment, you're probably generating Loosh. Well, just try to make it your intention that when that happens, you're going to be souring that product. I think it's that simple.
Yeah, you know, I love it.
It's really that simple.
I agree. I agree. It's just reverse it right back on them, and you know, but send it back tenfold. That's gonna sting them.
Yeah, choke on it. Choke on it.
There you go.
When you know you're being aggravated into producing Loosh, there's some kind of conflict going on around you. Just have that visualization. You know, choke on this. You're not gonna like it, and just have that. You know, here's the Loosh.
Yeah, I think also having like a bubble of protection around you too is important. Just imagine having like a shield around you that is impenetrable. But it, you know, it's basically got a one-way direction aimed at them, where repercussions can't come back at you. Yeah. I think William Bullman, even Monroe, when he was talking about having these little creatures when he was first out of body, he was kind of scared. He didn't know what was going on. Mm-hmm. And he had these like little creatures show up, and he eventually he wrote in there, I think this is in his first book, where he wrote in there about projecting like electricity from himself, and they all scattered. Yeah. Oh, yeah. He did mention that.
Yeah. And that's that. I was like, wow, because I had been thinking before I even read that book, I was thinking about the, you know, if I'm out of body, then why, you know, I'm not restricted by the physical laws anymore. Then why can't I imagine things and have them just appear, you know, or why can't I project, force in a protective way, or, you know, like you said, put up a force field so I can't be bothered by anybody. I think it's just a matter of mindset and intention, you know. And if you got to ditch the fear, you got to be courageous.
That's right. Stand your ground, and you know you're indestructible. Nothing's gonna mess with you. All right, so we'll take one more, and then Dan's gotta wrap things up. And then Dan and I we're talking about doing a Q&A stream sometime in the near future. Did you want to talk about that now, or you want to talk about that privately? I mean, you sent me the text. However you want to do it. I mean, it's. I mean, we could always just announce it later. I just would like to give people some time to send in some questions in advance.
Yeah, sure. I think we could probably do it. You know, again, Friday or Saturday or Sunday. Do
you want to do it Friday the 29th? Or you want to do it next week or the following week or sometime in May?
I don't know if I can do it on the 29th. But how about this? We pick out a date and we give everybody like a week's notice.
Yeah. That's what I was thinking. We'll just give them a little bit of notice to post questions in our comment sections, and then we'll just pull them together and do it all at once. Yeah, that sounds good. Okay, so one last question from Michael. Michael, thank you so much for your kind super chat, my friend. Michael asked, Dan, what is your exit plan? I really appreciate your perspective on this topic. Much love.
Well, once I'm out of here, this is very difficult, but I have to be prepared to ignore even loved ones. Even loved ones, or even my former pets, dogs, if you will, anything that would attach me here. I one of the things I wanted to do actually, eventually, you know, people have to kind of pre-plan their funerals for when they do pass away. Is I absolutely do not want any of this religitarded type ceremony. I think even Bowman said, you kind of have to have your sort of like somebody there, maybe even a recording of yourself telling you, kind of like that whole Tibetan Book of the Dead type thing, where you want to kind of remind your spirit, hey, this is it. This is your exit time. So you might want to have somebody that if you're lucky enough to have somebody in your family or friends that understands this whole Matrix Loosh reincarnation soul trap thing, and they're on board with it, have somebody there reading something, when you pass on. And when you're in the astral plane, I would just try to travel to, I would guess the best place to start would be to go to that outer rim area that's been described in a lot of out-of-body experiencers, where they see what they call last timers, people that are leaving to somewhere unknown, and you want to kind of get to that area, because that seems to be the only consistent exit point that I've ever read about, that and the OBEers reference. Mm-hmm. The outer rim, the last timers. I think even in Michael Newton's books, he talks about last timers. Mm-hmm. We just don't know where they go. I think they just go outside of this universe.
Me too.
And there's obviously better places to be, but I think it's completely outside of this defined universe. So you just kind of like your intent is to go there. And if you get distracted, don't get distracted. Don't get lured by something that's trying to manipulate you. Or you could have family members and loved ones, and they may be your actual family member and loved ones. I don't think anything could fool you to that extent, because of telepathy and the fact that once you kind of like sort of like scan something in body state and kind of know what it is. So I think more likely is that their actual loved ones and family members that are still part of the system here, because they haven't let go of it and they don't want to let go of it. I know people that have the most bizarre reasons, like they intellectually understand the reincarnation soul trap and come up with the most bizarre reasons that when you listen to me, like, are you nuts? You would stay here for that? There's some stupid thing that they fancy, and they're willing to stay here or come back again. I'm like, you're nuts.
Yeah.
So how do you know?
How you know?
It's like, what are you gonna come back here for, chocolate?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, like you want a house on the beach or something. Okay. Oh, woo. So you're gonna risk everything for that when you're a creator being? Yeah. I mean,
how about I'm sure that you can make a house on the beach on yourself in your own universe, or go to a universe where it's not a Loosh farm, and you can like in some of those places where I referenced earlier, where the natural symbiotic relationship between the spirit realm and the physical realm are open, and it's not secret, and there's no amnesia, and you can interchange. Oh, I want to be physical for a time, and now I don't, and you just go, and there's no loss of memory or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
So I would just intent myself to go to some place like that and get away from here. And anybody that's trying to lure me here, just have to ignore them. Or as that quantum healing Karen and Tina said, you pull out your sword and you hold them hostage until they show you the exit. That's very clever.
I won't be taking that route, but I mean, I think I love the funny part of it. Yeah,
I thought that was
it's
funny.
great. Yeah. All right. I think, okay, one last thing. Michael, thank you again for your other super chat, my friend. Michael says, thank you for your response, Dan. I absolutely agree. Thank you, UFC, for creating this platform for all of us. You're very welcome, my friend. And yes, thank you, Dan, for spending so much time with us today. Very much appreciated. And
no problem. That was fun.
Yeah, look forward to doing it again. I also want to make sure that everyone heads over to Dan's website, OverWatchProject.com. That's OverWatchProject.com. And Dan can also be found on ODYSEE at OverWatch Project, on BitChute at OverWatch Project, here on YouTube at OverWatchChannel. And then he also has a Minds, Gab, and Twitter account, all of which can be found in the description tab of today's video and previous interviews as well that we've done. This is our third one together, and we plan to do more in the future. And I think that, oh, by the way, anyone out there who is following the channel, maybe new, I do have 2 YouTube backup channels that are in the description as well. I also have an ODYSEE, Twitter, Instagram, where I've been doing some exclusive videos there. I did a 3-part series, video series on NDEs and DMT crossover. And yeah, so feel free to check those out. And I think that will wrap things up. Oh, by the way, the Last Timers Club members on YouTube, levels 2 and 3, are monthly members live stream will be Saturday, April 30th at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That's Saturday, April 30th at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And then tomorrow, well, actually today, that's April 24th, 2022, Harold will be coming on at 4 p.m. as well. And he had an amazing pre-birth experience that I covered, I think, sometime last year. And we're finally going to get together and have a conversation. He's going to share his full pre-birth memory. We're going to have a conversation about his progression spiritually. It'll be part of the My Journey to Awakening series, but it's a large portion of it's going to be focused on his pre-birth memories, and I'm really looking forward to it. Anyone who hasn't seen his video on that, definitely go check it out, or if you want, you can see my commentary on it, or just wait till tomorrow where we have the conversation all over again. And yeah, I think that's going to wrap it up. If you'd like to join the memberships, you're more than welcome. The link's in the description. And then I also have Stream Elements as a way to, if you want to donate or tip through credit card. But again, any information on that is important will never be charged. There'll be no money attached to anything that is important. So please keep that in mind. I appreciate anyone who sends a tip, but it's nothing ever expected. So and you know, Dan also has, I believe, a Bitcoin link over on his channel if you want to send a little love his way. And that's going to wrap things up. Dan, thanks again for hanging out, and I look forward to having another discussion with you very soon.
Great. Thanks, Mark. I'll talk to you later.
All right, my friends. If you, oh, by the way, one last thing.
Yeah.
We are going to have a Discord conversation. If anyone wants to join the Discord server afterwards, there will be a voice chat, and you're more than welcome to join us. That's it. Thanks, Dan. Thanks, okay, everybody.
I'll see you
we'll
next
see
time.
y'all again real soon.
Okay. Take care. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.